DNVR Avalanche pregame show presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. I'm your host Rudo, joined by AJ Haefele. As we're at home today, we get to do another watch along against the Coyotes. So looking forward to that one. The last watch along before the All-Star break. It's gonna be a hockey game. That's how I feel about this one, AJ. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's going to be a game.
That's what I thought too.
Got Scott Wedgwood in tonight and not Veggie.
Not Veggie this time.
As Craig Morgan said yesterday, it's the Wedgie and then the Veggie. Because Veggie plays tomorrow for the Coyotes and against Calgary.
I wouldn't want veggies after wedgies. That's for sure. Anyway. On the Avs side of things, good news for them. Ryan Murray returns to the lineup for the defense. The obvious expectation is, at least on the defensive side, he will jump into Curtis McDermott's spot. McDermott will likely move to forward to sit somebody.
I assume
Sakura, I assume.
Yeah, I was going to say he replaces Sakura.
No.
Upset about my Broncos hat. That's weird.
Yeah, that's a weird take. Anyway, I guess people are just sad because of how things went down today for the Broncos, but
well, it was a tough day.
Yeah.
Tough day announcing the sale and then finding out that the previous guys who were running the team might be scumbags.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
But anyway, not my pig, not my farm.
Indeed. This is an Avalanche farm.
Yeah. And really just like flipping through the Coyotes. At this point, I think this point in the season, it's mostly who's playing for a job on another team.
Definitely.
Would love to get Petey's take on this later, but from what I've heard, is that they don't want to move Lawson Krause, and so one of the obvious candidates. One of the obvious candidates for them to move at the deadline would be off the table then.
Yep. It's their options are of players that people will actually be interested in. Their options are fairly limited.
Yeah, Lawson Krause, Johan Larsson. I guess somebody could talk themselves into Travis Boyd. He's had a productive year.
Phil Kessel, too. Yeah.
Obviously, Kessel's like the big fish, right? I say the big fish, but for some reason, Jacob CHEKYRN is out there as well. So, really, that's a last-minute change that you don't love.
You hate to see that. Newhook been playing very, very well. Apparently, he is sick, but it's not COVID. So, that's Newhook turned 21 a couple days ago and has been for 5 days straight.
Yeah.
He's got the brown bottle flu right now, maybe. So, anyway, I think you could take a significant number of people out of the Avalanche lineup, and on paper, they should still beat the Coyotes. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, definitely. Losing Newhook, obviously, it's going to hurt you.
With McKinnon out, that's a top 6 piece that you're losing.
Yeah. So you're down McKinnon, you're down Newhook. That's not great. But look, the Coyotes are bad. They've scored 94 goals this year. In comparison, the Avs have scored 181.
You're encroaching on 100 more goals scored at that point.
There's a chance that the Avs have already scored more goals this season than Arizona will.
Yikes.
Because Arizona's at 94 goals in 43 games. So,
yep.
The news on McKinnon today is that he'll be back after the All-Star break.
Yeah, as I get some beautiful food delivered here by my wife. Shout out Green Chef, by the way, one of our new sponsors. They're super dope. One of them food delivery, like meal services. So they're super cool. Be sure to we'll just talk about them more later when you come back on the post-game show.
Yeah,
they're dope. Anyway,
we are required to talk about them later.
For the Avs,
I mean, I think senioritis has kicked in.
Yeah,
We've talked about all this. They've won all these games. They're on this long streak. You've got Darcy Kemper in net against Arizona again.
Yep.
All the pieces have kind of aligned for them to roll into the All-Star break on a lengthy winning streak and blah 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 blah.
Yep.
And then that it sets up the battle of the Titans coming out of the break.
Yeah,
on the 10th between
where things really start to get interesting. The Avs have games against Vegas over in that stretch.
Yeah, they've got 2 games. Both of their games against Vegas are in Vegas on the second half of back-to-back. So we'll see, right? Yeah. But for right now, I mean, you want to take it day by day, and I think this is going to be a great litmus test for how they do that. This is the last game. You can empty the tank. You don't have to worry about tomorrow. You don't have to worry about it. They don't have to manage the Arizona, legs, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to manage, okay, well, we don't want to go too hard. We're tired already. We're kind of worn down from the stretch of games that we've had here. We could really use a break. We could really use an extra day, blah, 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 blah. This is it. They don't have a game for 9 days after this.
Unless your name is Kadri and Makar.
Yeah, and you're going to the All-Star game is a little bit different.
For sure. Not working too hard at that thing.
Yeah, one of those dudes is going to be getting into a boat on a fountain and riding around trying to shoot pucks and shit. So,
by the way, I'm just going to assume the NHL listened to our show coming up with those crazy Vegas games that they did for the All-Star game. But it's an improvement. I'll put it that way. Look, this game is, yes, it can absolutely be the type of game that you see teams overlook, and you hope the Avs don't. But outside of the keeping the streaks going, in the big picture, I don't really care about the outcome of this hockey game at all.
You want 2 points are still on the line here.
For sure. They matter.
If they lose, it's like, look, you don't ever want to give points away to bad teams.
Yeah.
But at this point, you've won so many games. You've been so good. You've been so special for such a long time that you would hate it if it ended here.
Yeah.
You would hate it. But it's obviously you have going at the start of tonight. At the start of tonight's games, Vegas and Anaheim are tied for the division lead with a 2-point lead over Los Angeles. Okay. Florida has a 5-point lead on Tampa Bay, and Carolina has a 2-point lead on the Rangers as division leaders. The Avs roll into tonight with a 9-point lead on Nashville in second place in their division.
Yep. It's not close.
Yeah, and a 10-point lead on the real second place team, which is Minnesota.
Minnesota does have some games, but
they have 1,000 games in hand on everybody. So, yeah,
the Avs are already clear cut.
Right, this is not costing them anything if they lose this one. But really, there's no good reason they should lose this other than it was their time.
Look, if they lose, then you don't get to set up the Avs going for their 20th home win in a row against Tampa.
Yeah.
It would be fun.
There's all kinds of, and it would be 99 days since their last home loss if they win this game.
Yep.
It would make it so that there's a lot of fun stuff online against Tampa Bay. There will be anyway. I mean, it may not be winning streaks and all that, but that's a game that you're going to get up for. You're going to want to see how these teams respond and all that. But that's looking ahead right now. The Arizona, I don't even know what to say against it. They've played Arizona multiple times this month.
Yep.
The results have been what you would expect them to have been.
One game was close on the scoreboard, at least. The other game wasn't. So it's been pretty straightforward stuff, really, for Colorado.
Yeah.
Arizona, their season has also been mostly straightforward, except for Montreal is still clinging tightly to out-tanking them so far. So it could be interesting, AJ. Do you think after the break we're going to see, I mean, how much more can Arizona really do to turbo tank?
I mean, you have to, compared to what Montreal is doing, where it's like shifted into overdrive. I mean, you've got CHEKYRN.
Yeah, I guess CHEKYRN and Keller.
You've got Keller. But you've also got like Gostisbehere. You've got Kessel. You've got Larson. So I guess if you wanted, you've got Christian Fischer. You've got Travis Boyd. Like, you clean out the only guys who have had any success.
Literally become the Roadrunners is the next step.
That's kind of it, man. Like that's really it.
That's a grim fate. I don't wish that fate upon anyone, to be honest.
Like I don't think that they would move Nick Schmaltz, because I don't think that
contract's a pretty big commitment.
And I don't think a good team.
Yeah.
I don't think a good team is going to be interested in him. So, you wonder about a guy like Ryan Dzingel too, or Ilya Lyubushkin.
I mean, they could set the prices at everything must go level, and teams will find reasons to give up something.
They've got guys like, you could look at a team like Colorado and say, oh, they could have an interest in Jay Beagle if Jay Beagle's healthy.
Yep. Some people love the veteran-y experience.
Well, yeah, like the veteran fourth line guy that wins a lot of face-offs and blah, 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 blah. Like, the intangibles and the, classic hockey guy stuff,
Yep.
Like, that's it. That's how Anton Strawman's another guy. God, I always forget Anton Strawman is there.
Yep. He just kind of floated over there real quick.
Like, these are all guys that you could argue, like, they could help teams out.
Well, and I think, as we know, Arizona is wont to do, certainly on the guys that contracts aren't too long, they'll retain all the money they can on pretty much every single deal.
Yeah, you just have to make it worth it. Well,
exactly.
So I do want to ask you, since I kind of touched on it.
Okay.
Yesterday on Twitter. Jacob CHEKYRN.
Most of yesterday.
Jacob CHEKYRN, Sam Girard. Would you have any interest
for a 1-for-1?
I mean, I would assume that I have no idea how they would value it. I would assume, just given what Arizona has asked other teams for, I would assume that the Avs would probably have to give something else, but not too much. Put it just spitballing. Put it into Sampo Ranta level prospect, or Sampo Ranta type of guy.
I don't think I'd have any interest there, to be honest with you.
No,
even at 1-for-1, I think it'd be tough for me. And I get it. CHEKYRN, a good player. He has a really good contract.
So CHEKYRN 3 more years at $4.6 million.
Yeah.
Sam Girard 5 more years at $5 million.
Right. It's not that much better than G's. I really don't have a problem. I think G's in a really good spot with the way the Avs are built currently. Mm-hmm. That he fits his role perfectly on this team as kind of a number 3.
Mm-hmm.
For CHEKYRN, my biggest holdup for him is he can't stay healthy.
Well, health has been a problem until the last 2 seasons. Yeah, definitely true.
Even this year, he's only played 32 games.
Yeah, I mean,
it's nowhere near as bad as it was early on in his career.
Yeah, where he was playing 50 games a year, right, where it was like, bro.
But you have a super solid, super well-built top 3, top 4, if you want to count Byram in that. But you're already dealing with a Makar, who you're expecting to miss 15-ish games a year. You're dealing with Taves and Girard have been relatively healthy over their careers. Taves has missed a little bit of time.
The oddity of like the dichotomy between Sam Girard is too small to be effective in the postseason.
But he's the healthy one.
But Sam Girard never misses.
Yeah, in the regular season, he is almost never out. So it's a little bit weird. And honestly, I don't know. CHEKYRN's games this year could have been missed at COVID protocols. I don't actually know.
Yeah, we can ask PD.
Yeah,
on the watch along when he jumps in, kind of his view of something like that, because I would be really curious the other
Arizona's
side view,
how they see it. Yeah,
because that's like their like a year ago, the guy was their only building block.
Yep. It's weird. Certainly, like when you look at the archetype of a defenseman, CHEKYRN's going to fit that a lot more than Sam Girard is.
Well, and that's where the appeal comes in. Is look, is Sam Girard just built for being a good regular season player, and he can't play in the playoffs? Because if ultimately you decide that the answer is yes, then you take whatever Jakob CHEKYRN gives you.
Yeah,
and look,
he's 6'2", 220.
You do save a little bit. You do save a little bit of money.
Yep.
Not like $400,000 isn't like a huge amount, but hey, 400,000 here, 200,000 there, 200,000 there. You have a whole ELC carved out.
That right. Those little bits are what gives you enough money to bring a guy back or to find the right move or whatever. But
yeah,
or you just put people on injured reserve forever.
I would be curious how Arizona would value it, because Girard's contract, because he is
longer. Yeah,
he is signed for 5 more years on that deal, and there's no trade protection in place for him, and so they could just roll with him. Like they don't have to worry about signing him. They don't have to worry about that guy leaving.
Yeah,
they get him through his entire prime. This whole window that they're building towards, that they're drafting towards, they could just say, "This guy, we know this guy will be here."
Yeah,
and I wonder how they value that versus valuing a guy like CHEKYRN that could walk on them in a couple of years.
It's really hard read for them, because the other side of this coin, I think, is you keep CHEKYRN around. If they do start to turn it around and become a decent hockey team, maybe that becomes a place players do want to stay. We already know players love the Arizona weather. Mm-hmm. So can they just build a decent hockey team? That's the question to me.
Yeah. And I would be curious, like, would you have like, I'm curious where Jakob CHEKYRN as Colorado's third banana, how well he does versus being Arizona's everything.
Number one, sure.
And how Sam Girard does as Arizona's everything. I'd just be curious. Like, I wonder what that difference would look like.
Without like digging into some of those numbers too deep, you when you look at him, you do see he scores a lot of goals. He's a goal scorer in Arizona for the defensive side. Obviously not going to have opportunity to do things like PP1 in Colorado.
Right.
So there are some sides to being the number 3 is going to give him less opportunity, even if it does shelter him a little bit more too.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an interesting look. Maybe we'll have to look into that on a later show during the break or something. But
just something I thought was like an interesting conversation, because like a year ago, Jakob CHEKYRN was like the future of the Coyotes, and now he's in trade talks everywhere. And it's like, why would you move him when he's clearly having such a down year on the ice?
Yep.
He's not playing nearly as well as he did last year. Why would you move him now?
You're selling at the low point.
It just seems kind of odd to me. And, the price being your classic, like, young player, first round pick and a prospect.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, if you offer just Sam Girard straight up,
what do they say to that?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why Colorado would have to add to that, to be honest.
I wouldn't. If they asked for more than that, I don't even know if I'd say yes if they asked for Sam Girard straight up. Like,
yeah, see, Sam Girard straight up, I think, would be an interesting conversation. If they asked for more, I guess it would depend. Like, is it like a 5th round? Yeah. Like, okay, whatever.
Danilo Zaravyov, sure, whatever.
Yeah, like if it's something that you're like, okay, cool. Like, I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
But if it's a guy that you like, like, what if it's a Foodie or a Sampo?
Sure.
A guy, not one of your top guys, but a guy that you like.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I think it's curious.
It's definitely an interesting one. You also have to, it'd be a weird deal from Arizona's side, I assume. I'm sure we'll ask Petey, but if you're trading CHEKYRN for Girard, you're not really filling a hole other than the hole you created, right?
Right, but you do get
the 2 years. I get it.
You get a really, really good contract, and you don't ever have to worry about it.
In the immediate it's not really helping you though. And it feels like, look, we already know the Coyotes have 8 picks in the first 3 rounds this year. 2 rounds. So there you go. They already know it's going to be bad this year.
Yeah, I just, between you look at Gerard gives you a guy that is going to be in the lineup every night, and we talked about it with CHEKYRN, he's not, and I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting conversation, and I don't know what else the hell to talk about in this pregame show.
Right, so. It's the Yotes for the 3rd time in 3 weeks, and they're the Yotes. So, on that note, let's get to Blaze's bets. Not on the show tonight, but he still got his free money.
Shout out to Blaze. One too many Blazeritos.
Yeah, dude's stuck on the toilet tonight. Avs to win the first period, -120. A little shout out there, Breck Brew, doing the 2 for a brew deal right now. If you go buy yourself a Breckenridge Brewery, keep the receipt. If the Avs score 2 goals in the first period, that beer is on Breck Brew. Make sure you just take the receipt to breckbrew.com. They'll get you all hooked up. They'll pay you back for that beer. So you should always be betting on the Avs to win the first period and score 2 goals. After that, the freest bet on DraftKings, Cale Makar with a power play point, is somehow still even money. Incredible that you just keep getting money from this. And he's sticking with this one. He came up a little short the other night on Kadri over 3.5 shots, but he's staying to his guns on that.
And really, there were multiple cases where it was
Kadri probably should have had that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a good option. He had a fan shot that could have been his 4th one, and another one where he chose to pass. So Blaze has very consistently his 2 out of 3, if not all 3 of those bets. It's actually impressive how good he's done since we started doing the graphic. So go win yourself some free money.
I mean, it's impressive because this started as a general betting segment and became Blaze's bets for a reason.
Because he just kept hitting.
The dude was just aces with it, and we were like,
do you want to just do this?
Turn it over to Blaze.
Yeah. We're also going to be doing a watch along for this hockey game. Make sure after this ends, you jump over to that other YouTube stream on the DNVR channel. So be sure to like and subscribe. PD will be joining us about halfway through the game. He's a little bit big time in us. He's working for ESPN for the first half of the game on a different game, but ESPN is a pretty good gig for PD. So
nice side gig.
Yeah, not too shabby, right? Not too shabby. But be sure to tune into the watch along with us. It's our last one until after the All-Star break, so it's just going to be a good time. We're going to be hanging out watching this game. Hope y'all will join us for that. I think that's pretty much it. I got to go eat this Green Chef. I got to go get ready for the game. So we are going to wrap this thing up. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us on the pregame. You're going to be hanging out with us in 2 minutes, hopefully. So we'll see you there. We'll see you post game. However it works, we will talk to you in just a bit.